Millionaires speak one specific Florence Scovel Shinn affirmation before 6 in the morning, and it is the engine that built their wealth and the engine that keeps it. Tonight I am going to give you that exact affirmation and the reason the hour before dawn carries more creative power than any other moment in your day. So let us start with the premise, as stated in Psalm 5:3. My voice shalt thou hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning will I direct my prayer unto thee, and will look up. Notice the repetition in this verse. It says morning twice. It does not say in the evening. It does not say whenever you find the time. It specifically anchors the directing of the word to the morning, and it adds the phrase, I will look up, which is the posture of expectation, of certainty, of someone who has already decided the answer is coming. Florence Scovel Shinn understood that the morning is when the word is most creative, when the consciousness is most receptive, and when the direction you set carries through every hour that follows. And the wealthy have always known this, even when they could not name why. The morning word directs the entire day. This is what I want to discuss with you tonight. Let me give you this affirmation right now, before we go any further, because the words carry a weight that no explanation can replace. So speak it with me, even softly. Wealth is my natural state. I receive it now in full. My word is my wand. Speak it once more with me, and let it settle this time. Wealth is my natural state. I receive it now in full. My word is my wand. Hold there for a moment. Feel what shifts when you say, wealth is my natural state, rather than wealth is something I am trying to attract. That subtle ownership, that quiet assumption that wealth is simply what belongs to you. That is the consciousness the wealthy wake up inside every single morning, and what you just felt is the exact frequency this affirmation establishes. If those words moved something in you, scroll down to the comments right now and write wealth is my natural state. Your comment becomes the first directing of your own morning word, and it joins the field of people speaking this before dawn. Now let me give you the first piece, which is why the wealthy speak from ownership, while everyone else speaks from wanting, because this single distinction separates the entire consciousness of wealth from the consciousness of struggle. The person who is not yet wealthy speaks about money as something external, something out there, something they must reach toward and pull in. Their affirmations sound like wishes. I want more money. I hope money comes. I am trying to attract abundance. And every one of those statements contains a hidden admission. The admission that money is not currently theirs, that they are separated from it, that it lives somewhere outside of them. But the wealthy speak from a completely different position. They speak as though wealth is simply their natural condition, the way health is the natural condition of a well body. They do not try to attract wealth any more than you try to attract your own hand. The wealth is already theirs. The affirmation simply confirms what is already true. Wealth is my natural state is not a request. It is a statement of identity. And identity is the level at which the law actually operates. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you are. And the wealthy have made wealth part of what they are, rather than something they chase. Let me make this concrete, because it is the hinge the entire teaching turns on. Think about how you relate to something you genuinely own. Your name, your hands, the air in your lungs. You do not wake up each morning anxiously hoping you will still have your name today. You do not strain to attract your own hands toward you. These things are simply yours. They are part of what you are. And because they are part of you, you never experience the contracted, anxious energy of trying to get them. Now think about how most people relate to money. They wake up and immediately feel the gap between where their bank account is and where they need it to be. They reach toward money with the exact anxious energy of someone trying to grab something that keeps moving away. And that reaching energy, that gap energy, is itself the thing that keeps the money at a distance, because the law mirrors back the consciousness you hold. Hold the consciousness of separation, and the law maintains the separation. Hold the consciousness of ownership, and the law confirms the ownership. The wealthy made a quiet internal shift at some point, often without realizing it. They stopped relating to money as something separate and started relating to it as something that is simply part of their natural state. And once that shift happened, the anxious reaching stopped. And once the reaching stopped, the money stopped fleeing. This is why wealth is my natural state is so much more powerful than any affirmation about attracting or manifesting money. Attracting implies distance, natural state implies it is already here. The second piece is why the hour before 6 in the morning specifically carries more creative force than any other time. And this is something Florence understood that even most of her students missed. In the hour before 6, before the world has woken and begun broadcasting its noise, the field is quiet. Your consciousness has just emerged from sleep and has not yet been claimed by the demands of the day. The critical mind that doubts and argues is still soft, still half dreaming. And in that window, the word you speak goes almost directly into the subconscious without resistance. This is the same receptivity you have right before sleep, but with one crucial difference. The morning word does not just get processed overnight. It gets to direct the entire waking day that follows. When you speak, "Wealth is my natural state" before 6 in the morning, you are setting the frequency that every subsequent hour will operate within. You are claiming the day before the world can claim it for you, and the wealthy protect this hour fiercely. They do not check their phones first. They do not absorb the news first. They do not let anyone else speak into their consciousness before they have spoken their own word first. They understand that whoever directs the morning directs the day, and they make absolutely certain that they are the ones directing it. Now, before I give you the remaining pieces, I have to stop and tell you something directly, because everything I have just taught you about the morning word points to one practical problem that almost nobody solves. The morning affirmation only works if you actually speak it every single morning, and the truth is that most people cannot do this on their own. They speak it for 2 or 3 mornings, they feel something shift, and then life gets busy. The alarm goes off late, the day starts in a rush, and the practice quietly dies. And a morning word spoken 3 times and then abandoned builds nothing. This is exactly the problem I built the Overflow Covenant to solve. It is a 21-day sequence where one short Florence Shinn decree lands in your inbox every single morning. You speak it before your coffee, before the day begins. It takes less than a minute. And it removes the one thing that defeats almost everyone, the forgetting. You do not have to remember. You do not have to rely on willpower. The decree is simply there waiting for you every morning for 21 days straight, which is exactly the span it takes for the morning word to become automatic. This is the structure the wealthy build into their lives, whether through discipline or routine. A fresh directing of the word every single dawn, and the Overflow Covenant builds it for you. It is $27, one payment, no app to install, no platform to log into, just your inbox before dawn for 21 mornings. And there is a 30-day full refund, so the risk is entirely mine. The link is in the description. It is called the Overflow Covenant. Begin it tonight and let the first decree reach you tomorrow morning. Now let me give you the third piece, which is what receiving in full actually means and why the wealthy never speak in fractions. Because the language of the affirmation matters more than people realize. Notice that the affirmation does not say I receive a little more money. It does not say I receive enough to get by. It says I receive it now in full. The wealthy do not think in terms of just enough. They think in terms of fullness, completeness, overflow. The person trapped in struggle has often unconsciously trained themselves to ask only for a little, to want only enough to cover the immediate need, because asking for more feels greedy or unrealistic. But Florence taught that the law does not respond to modesty, it responds to the clarity and the magnitude of the word. When you speak, "I receive it now in full," you are not being greedy, you are being accurate. Fullness is your divine inheritance, and accepting anything less is not humility. It is a quiet rejection of what has already been provided for you. And there is something deeper here about why so many people unconsciously cap their own receiving. Somewhere in childhood, most people absorb the belief that wanting a lot is greedy, that asking for more than you strictly need is selfish, that the humble and good thing to do is to be satisfied with just enough. And so when they affirm, they unconsciously add a ceiling. They ask for enough to pay the bills, enough to feel a little less stressed, enough to get by, and the law gives them exactly what they ask for. Just enough, perpetually just enough, never overflow. Florence taught that this self-imposed ceiling is not a virtue. It is a misunderstanding of how divine supply works. The supply is infinite. Your receiving it in full does not take it away from anyone else. There is no fixed amount of wealth being divided among people, where your having more means another having less. The divine supply is inexhaustible, and when you receive in full, you are not depriving anyone, you are simply accepting what was always available. The wealthy removed this ceiling at some point. They gave themselves permission to receive fully, and that single permission often marked the moment their financial reality began to expand beyond mere survival. The fourth piece is why consistency in the morning word matters more than intensity, because most people misunderstand how the word actually establishes wealth. They imagine that if they could just speak their affirmation with enough passion, enough emotion, enough force one single time, the wealth would appear. But Florence observed that the word does not establish through intensity, it establishes through repetition. A single passionate affirmation is like striking a bell once. The sound rings and fades. But the same word spoken calmly every morning is like the steady tuning of an instrument. Each morning holds the frequency in place until it becomes the permanent pitch of your consciousness. This is why the wealthy speak the word every single morning, rather than waiting for moments of high motivation. They are not trying to manufacture a burst of feeling. They are tuning their consciousness daily to the frequency of wealth, until that frequency becomes their default state, the one they wake up inside automatically. The fifth piece is the exact morning protocol the wealthy use, and the specific sequence matters enormously. The moment you become aware that you are awake, before you open your eyes, before you reach for the phone, before you check the time, you speak the affirmation. This timing is everything. The word must come before the day has imposed its first demand. You speak the 3 sentences slowly, with quiet ownership, not pleading, not straining, simply confirming what is already true. Wealth is my natural state. I receive it now in full. My word is my wand. Then you allow yourself to fully wake while the word settles into your consciousness. You do not immediately absorb any external input. You give the word a few moments to direct the day before you let anything else in. And throughout the day, when you notice the old language of lack beginning to rise, you return to the word. You speak it again, just once, to reconfirm the frequency the morning established. This returning is what protects the morning word from being eroded by the afternoon. And let me add something specific about the quality of the speaking itself, because how you speak the morning word matters as much as when. The wealthy do not speak their morning affirmation the way an anxious person recites a desperate prayer. Fast, tense, gripping, hoping it works. They speak it the way someone states a simple fact they have known their whole life. Calm, unhurried, certain. There is no strain in it, no desperation, no underlying plea. When you speak wealth is my natural state with strain, the strain itself contradicts the words, because strain is the energy of lack, of not yet having, of reaching. But when you speak the same words with the calm certainty of someone confirming something already true, the consciousness matches the words, and the law establishes what the consciousness holds. So as you speak the morning word, slow down, soften, let the words carry the energy of settled fact rather than anxious hope. This single adjustment, speaking from calm ownership rather than tense wanting, often makes the difference between an affirmation that establishes and one that bounces off. The sixth piece is the contrarian truth that the wealthy speak less about money than the people who are struggling to get it. And this surprises almost everyone. You would think the wealthy would talk about money constantly, but the opposite is true. The person chasing wealth talks about it endlessly. They discuss their goals, they announce their plans, they constantly reference what they are trying to manifest. But the wealthy speak their morning word in private and then say almost nothing about money for the rest of the day. The reason is that constant talk about money, even ambitious talk, subtly reinforces the consciousness of not yet having it. You do not constantly discuss the things you already possess and take for granted. Your silence about your wealth is itself a signal of ownership. The wealthy direct the word once in the morning with full conviction, and then they move through the day as people for whom the matter is already settled. They do not need to keep discussing it, because to them it is not in question. Here is the whole picture. The people who wake before 6 and speak a quiet affirmation are not performing a hopeful ritual. They are directing the creative word in the most powerful window of the day, claiming wealth as their natural state before the world can suggest otherwise. They speak from ownership rather than wanting. They receive in full rather than in fractions. They tune their consciousness daily through consistency rather than chasing intensity, and they keep the practice private so its power is never dissipated. Every one of these is available to you, starting tomorrow morning before dawn. The affirmation has been given to you, the timing has been explained, and the only thing required is that you actually speak it before 6. Before the day speaks first. Before we close, I want to be direct with you one more time. The reason most people never wake up inside the consciousness of wealth is not that they lack the affirmation, it is that they cannot sustain the daily morning practice on their own. They forget, they rush, the routine collapses within a week. This is the entire reason the Overflow Covenant exists. To place a fresh Florence Shinn decree in your inbox every single morning for 21 days, so the practice cannot collapse, so the forgetting is removed, so the morning word actually becomes automatic. You can find it at the link in the description. 21 mornings, 1 decree before dawn, $27, 30-day full refund. So speak the affirmation with me one final time before you go. Wealth is my natural state. I receive it now in full. My word is my wand. Hold that. And tomorrow morning before you open your eyes, before the world wakes, let this be the first word you direct into your day, and then let the first decree of the covenant reach you, and begin waking up inside the wealth that has always been your natural state.